Hi guys! Welcome back! My name is Macy and I am a full-time reseller, and in today's video I'm going to tell you about how I became a full-time reseller. I want to start at the beginning of my journey and tell you a little bit about me and my background, what events happened to lead me to do this full time. I used to do this part time for years and years and years as just kind of a side hustle to bring in money while I was going through college. Tell you a little bit about the good associated with reselling full time and the bad. Some lessons that I learned along the way, and I want to give you a full breakdown of what my first year reselling looked like in terms of sales and profit, what sites I was selling on, anything that you would need to know if you are also considering going full-time. A little bit about me. I am 27 years old. I grew up in Bedford, Pennsylvania, which is a small farm town in Pennsylvania. I attended college at Penn State for accounting, and then I moved to Pittsburgh to start my accounting career, and then I met my boyfriend and we moved in together, and eventually I quit my accounting job and started reselling full-time. That's kind of a quick summary, but where this all began. Whenever I was little, in elementary school, my mom suggested that I participate in a craft festival in my hometown called Fall Foliage. It takes over the two main streets in our town, so it's pretty hard to miss. And craft vendors from all over the states come in, set up their booths for the first 2 weekends in October. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of crafts, there's a lot of food, there's a lot of games. I really look forward to it every year. Unfortunately, this year it was canceled because of COVID. Usually it's a lot of fun. And actually, the best part about it is that there's a little craft section for students. If you are in elementary school, middle school, high school, you can sign up to get a booth for free, which is something that I participated in every year. So I would create all sorts of weird crafts. They were not by any means good crafts. Like one year I took some bean trees from my backyard, put them in little mason jars, and sold bean trees. That is something that people purchase for probably $1 or $2 from my booth. But that experience got me into selling, just selling things in general. I really enjoyed it. I look forward to Fall Foliage so much every year because I knew that I would be able to make things that I could sell to people and make money. And that was just the coolest concept to me. And I never really lost that. Whenever I was in middle school, I started selling things on eBay through my parents' account. I would sell, things that they wanted to sell. I would sell my own stuff. In 2009, whenever I was a high school sophomore, I actually created my own eBay account to sell things. I would go to thrift shops and find things to sell. This was before I had even known about the concept of reselling. I just knew that I enjoyed thrift shopping myself. I saw things in the thrift store that I was like, this is very cheap, it's $1 or $2. I can probably sell this for more online. I didn't know about this whole thrifting, flipping, reselling concept, but it just logically made sense to me at the time. And plus, I really enjoyed thrifting in general. I always had a passion for clothing. I always loved shopping for clothing, and that passion for shopping never really left. So the fact that I could turn my passion for shopping into something that I could do to make me money was pretty much the best concept ever. So moving forward in time, in 2012, I got my first smartphone. I was a freshman in college and I got my first smartphone. And as soon as I did, I downloaded Poshmark because one of the first things that I looked up was eBay, and right under the eBay app was Poshmark. And I was like, yes, more apps to make me money. How cool is that? I so wish that I had gotten a smartphone sooner than I did, because I could have been making money on Poshmark for years before I got my smartphone. It's fine. In 2012, I started selling things on Poshmark, and I have never stopped. Poshmark was a little bit different back then. It had a totally different look. Shipping was only $5. Trading was very common. everybody's listings looked like complete crap with borders, and everybody used those filters. You could sell really cheap things on there for a decent price because there just weren't that many listings available for people to buy, and shipping wasn't that expensive yet. So I was selling like American Eagle t-shirts, graphic t-shirts, things from Kohl's, like nothing actually worth money, but it sold for like, you know, 15, 20 bucks, like all these things. I was selling bundles, but at the time you had to create your own bundles. It was a totally different world than it is now. They really come a long way. At the same time, I was on an app called Vinted. I signed up for Vinted under the username Vinted Love, L-U-V for love, because on Poshmark, the people that had Poshmark in their username seemed to get more followers than the people that didn't. So I'm like, ooh, a new platform. I'm gonna put Vinted in my username and get all the followers. Vinted at the time was actually very popular, and I made a lot of sales on Vinted. It was one of my main platforms along with Poshmark and eBay. Unfortunately, Vinted changed their site to be an ad cluster. It totally ruined the experience. They used to have this really cool thing where they had a forum and they would have moderators on that forum, and you could chat about all sorts of things, reselling related, not reselling related, anything and everything, and it was really fun. But for some reason they did away with the moderators, and then the forums turned to crap, and then they added all these super weird ads to their site. It completely ruined the experience. In 2016, I stopped selling on Vinted, instead focused on eBay and Poshmark, and also added the new platform Mercari. Mercari I added in 2014. Mercari was great. You could sell all sorts of things on Mercari, and their fee was free at the time. They didn't add the 10% fee for quite a while. I think it was like a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I still use Mercari to this day. I still use Poshmark and eBay, and I have since added Depop and Curtsy and my own site, blueconsignment.com. Now, in my life at the time, I graduated high school and I immediately started college in the summer of 2011, and I continued until December of 2015 when I graduated with an accounting degree. During this time, I used Poshmark and eBay and Mercari and Vinted as side income, and I would go to Plato's Closet quite often because there was a good one in State College. I would purchase inventory. I would be in my apartment with 4 other girls, and I was the only one that would use the living room, and I mostly used it as a photographing station. I would hang things on the wall. I would lay out a fuzzy white blanket on the floor, and I would take photos, you know, use one of the editing apps to completely white out the background and put up all my listings. And it was so helpful in terms of having that side income to help you buy groceries, pay for rent, a little bit of spending money if you're to go out with your friends to do something fun like bowling or going out for drinks or whatever it is. Having that extra income in college is just, it's the difference between being stressed all the time and being like, yeah, I can do whatever. The best part about it is I didn't have to rely on my parents for that additional spending money. I was relying on myself. Keep in mind, at the time, I was not relying solely on reselling money. I did not know about the reselling community at this time. I was relying on my own knowledge of reselling to make money off of it, and I wasn't bringing in that much. I also had another part-time job that I got through the work-study program at college, and that was being kind of like a banker type person for the clubs and organizations on campus. And I loved that job. I loved everybody I worked with. The thing about my personality is that I'm not very outgoing until you put me with people that I get to know. And then once I know you, I have zero problem being weird and goofy and outgoing around you. But yeah, every job that I've had outside of reselling, I have really enjoyed working with the people there. That's the best part about having a job where you have coworkers, is that you get to interact with them every day, you get to know them, you become friends with them, you know? And if you are reselling full time, you no longer have those people to go and talk to every single day, unless you are able to form connections online. Moving on, after college, I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I started my full-time career job that I was so extremely excited to get because it was quite competitive. This job was for one of the big 4 accounting firms where they have auditing, taxes, and consultancy. I personally worked in taxes and I learned so much and I met some amazing people. Again, just like my prior job, I loved so many of the people that I worked with. I miss working with them. I miss talking to them every day. And for a while, I really didn't mind the job itself. I felt like I was learning something new every day. It was challenging, got me outside my comfort zone a little bit. I was talking to more people than I ever talked to. I was interacting with clients, felt like such a businesswoman, you know? I am glad that I went into taxes. I found the work I was doing was interesting, but the problem with this job was that it was very, very demanding. And I knew this going in, but I didn't quite understand the extent of it. There's this thing called busy seasons, and you might have already experienced them too if you have a similar type of career. But in my case, the busy seasons were when corporations would have to file their taxes and when the corporations would have to file their annual report. So in the fall, we would be working on corporate tax filings, and then come January through April, we would be working with the auditors on auditing the annual reports. And what I ended up realizing was that busy season never seemed to end. In busy season, you're not just working the typical 9 to 5. For my job, you were supposed to be there at 8:30, and then if you left at 5:30, like that was a really good day. Most of the time, you're going to be leaving at 7:30. That's pretty much the average. And then in busy season, it's more like 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, who knows, 30. And that part of it was so much more demanding than I ever imagined it would be. Just the amount of hours and stress I was putting on myself to get work done quickly. I felt like I was always behind. I felt like I was never good enough to work there, despite the fact I was getting good reviews and I would work all the time. And I never really stopped thinking about work. Like I was working on the weekends, I was working at night. I was just constant, even if I wasn't working, I was thinking about working. I would go on a trip with a friend and I would bring my work laptop and work in the car. If I was doing something fun, I would be like, when should I go back to doing work? Because I know I haven't gotten this thing done that needs to get done. And it was just such a struggle for me to ever turn my brain off from work because other people rely on you to get that work done. So if you don't, like, you're letting them down. And I didn't want to let anybody down. So I determined that maybe the environment just wasn't the right fit for me personally, because some people don't have that problem. For some people, it's a lot easier to take themselves out of work. As soon as they leave work, that's it. No more thinking about it. Unfortunately, I wasn't like that. The other part of it was that I wasn't feeling that great about the work I was doing after a while. I was like, I'm spending my entire day and night and my entire weekend working on taxes for a corporation. What am I adding to the world? Like, does this mean anything? That's the kind of thoughts that started going into my head, and I was like, while I know I can do this job, I don't know if I actually want to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not passionate about it. I like accounting. I like having a formula and being able to use it. I like looking at data and I like pulling out useful information from that data. And I found myself still doing accounting type things in my reselling business because I enjoyed them. Like that whole thing of tracking your inventory and tracking your sales, making sure that you are making money in reselling, having that big spreadsheet with all of your data in it about every item you've ever picked up and sold. I have zero problem doing that part of the reselling business. It's actually my favorite part of it because it's the closest that relates to accounting. And I did and still do enjoy accounting. That's why I went into that degree. But it's just a job that I ended up not being the best fit for me personally. So even though it was a great paying job and I really enjoyed the people that I worked with, I quit after 2.5 years of working there in February of 2019. And then I freaked out for a month. More like 2 or 3 and 4 months maybe. Stressing out about what do I do with my life? Do I get another accounting job? Do I get my CPA license? I didn't have my CPA license. You kind of need that to be in a public accounting firm. Like where do I go from here? I was kind of lost. I was still reselling part-time. I had never stopped reselling part-time. It definitely went on the back burner during a lot of the busy seasons. It was still something I did every day, a little bit. And then I decided, let's just be a full-time reseller. Let's do it. My boyfriend was encouraging me to give it a shot. I had always considered doing reselling full-time, but never really thought it was actually financially feasible. But during that waiting period of figuring out what to do after I quit my public accounting job, I was watching YouTube videos about people that were sourcing for Amazon FBA. I was watching videos about people doing eBay reselling, and I was realizing that people were making full-time incomes from reselling, and was something that I would for sure enjoy. I've been doing it for years already, just not at that scale. So I decided to go for it. I'd like to break down some of the sales that I had over a few years leading up to when I became a full-time reseller, and then after I became a full-time reseller. In 2015, this is the year that I graduated college. I graduated in December of 2015, so this whole year I was in college. I sold on Vinted, eBay, and Poshmark, and I made $5,974 as a part-time reseller that year. The next year in 2016, along with Vinted, eBay, and Poshmark, I added Depop, and I spent half the year in a waiting period to start my full-time job, which started in July of 2016. So part of that, I was kind of like a full-time reseller because the only other thing I had going on during that time was studying for the CPA exam. And so I spent a large majority of my time reselling because I didn't have another job bringing in income and I needed to pay for my living situation. And then the other half of that year, I started my full-time job in Pittsburgh, and I did the whole move Pittsburgh thing from State College. I mean, it was an interesting year. I made $12,417 that year, which is a lot higher than the prior year because I had to support myself to pay for rent. The next year, 2017, I mostly only sold on Poshmark and Mercari. That year, I was focusing on first year into my second year at my public accounting job, so I made a little bit less than 2015. I made $4,809. In 2018, I had a little bit of eBay going on, but mostly again Poshmark and Mercari, and I had gotten promoted to staff 2, which is a little bit tougher than staff 1, so I spent half the year as a staff 2, and then the other half of the year I also got promoted to a senior position, which is even more demanding. So I wasn't that focused on reselling very much this year at all. I was making a lot of money from my full-time job, so it wasn't really necessary, but I just enjoyed it as a hobby. I made $2,501 that year. Lastly, in 2019, I spent 2 months, January and February, as a senior at my public accounting job. Worst 2 months ever. I sold on Depop, eBay, Posh, and Mercari the last part of the year after February. January and February felt like their own year to me. Like, it was so much. And then decided to become a full-time reseller. 2019 was quite a transitional year for me. I made $10,177 that year. In total, for my first year of reselling, which starts, we'll just say in March of 2019 through the end of February 2020, I made $16,025. What a decrease from my full-time job. It was insane. After leaving and going full-time into reselling, but really struggling at the beginning of it, I only made $16,000 that year. And I wasn't really sure until 2020 really that this was actually gonna work out and that I wouldn't have to go back to accounting. I'm not against going back to accounting, but I really wanted this to work out because I do enjoy being my own boss. I do enjoy scheduling out my own hours, having the freedom to do different things throughout the day and not being locked into a 9 to 5, or in my case, 8:30 to never ending. Let's break it down a little bit further in my first year, okay? March 2020, I wasn't really sure what was happening in my life. I had just quit my public accounting job and I was thinking, okay, we're gonna get another accounting job. Let's work on our resume. So reselling was just still my hobby at this point. I made $350 that month. April, creeping a little bit closer to becoming a full-time reseller. Still thinking about it, still considering other options. I made $470 that month. May, full-time reseller. That's what I'm gonna be. I'm cool with that. I can do this. I made $600 that month. June, well, at the end of May, the first week and a half of June, I went on a trip to London and Paris with my boyfriend, which had been planned for quite a while. I mean, it was the best experience, the best. It was so great. But that meant that my reselling business was not getting off on the best foot. I made $390 that month. July, you know, if you don't work that hard, it kind of rolls over still into the next month. So I made $500 in July. Not to mention, I'm trying to start my reselling business in summer slowdown, which I didn't realize was a thing until I started researching more about Poshmark sales, Mercari sales, learning from people on YouTube, reading things on Instagram, and then just understanding more about the whole reselling community and how being a full-time reseller is even possible. I was learning as I was going. I didn't do this quite properly because I should have been researching all this stuff before I became a full-time reseller. My goal whenever I quit my full-time job was to just be happy because I was so miserable at my full-time job. I was crying all the time. It wasn't a good situation and I knew it had to end. And I knew that I had enough savings to figure out my next move. So that's why I felt comfortable leaving that job. If you don't have the savings to survive your first few months of reselling full-time, do not do it. You should only go into becoming a full-time reseller if you have the means. If you have the backup savings, if you have a secure situation, if you have someone else helping you pay the bills, you need to have the right circumstances in order to take that leap. If I didn't have the circumstances that I did, I would have definitely had to have learned how to be a full-time reseller and have gotten myself into the full-time reselling state of sales and profit and stuff before even leaving my other job. Continuing on, sorry, I'm going really slow. In August, I made $770. In September, I made $1,200. In October, I made $1,300. In November, I made $1,600. In December, I made $2,900. In January, I made $2,500. And in February, I made $3,300. Looking at those numbers kind of blows my mind. Just imagine how I was feeling back in July when full-time reselling was now my job that I had decided to pursue, and I made $500 that month. I was like, this isn't sustainable. How in the world am I gonna get to that full-time income that I need to get to? But the interesting thing is that I made more in my last 3 months of my first year of full-time reselling than I did my first 9 months. The learning really pays off. Just knowing how to actually make sales on these platforms and the items that you need to pick up to turn a profit is the most valuable information. This is all thanks to the reselling community, the people on YouTube, and the people on Instagram that share their knowledge so generously. And what's even more interesting to me now is that I am making more money in 1 week in terms of profit than I did in August of last year for the entire month. In August of last year, I made $770, and last week I shared with you my sales numbers, and I made $881 in sales for that week. And I didn't know back in August that I would actually get to this point. I didn't know if I could do it, but I thought that I could, and I learned what I needed to learn to get there. And I think anybody can do that. I've definitely had support from my boyfriend, and that's really the biggest help to me because, you know, after I decided to do this full time, he was like, you could have one of the rooms in the house to just be a reselling room. And I never even thought about doing that. I was just, you know, taking my bins from room to room and laying out my items out on the front porch or in a room upstairs or wherever. But what we ended up doing was turning one of the rooms upstairs into our bedroom, and then what used to be the bedroom down here turned into my reselling room, and that's where I'm filming this video right now. I have all my bins over here. I have a rack over there. I have a table over here where I measure things and package things. I have a desk in front of me with my computer here and my Rolo, and it's just a perfect little room to resell in. And it's so nice to have somebody that supports you in your goals. On the bad side of things might start off pretty rocky in the beginning. You might not make as much as you want to make. You might put in so much effort into listing and sharing, doing all of these things that you think you need to do to make sales, and it might not pay off for several months because you need to give your platforms time to get enough listings to bring in sales and bundles. You need to give yourself time to learn all of the brands that are best to pick up while you're thrifting. You need to give yourself time to create a system that works for you, that is time efficient and keeps your items safe and clean and prevents you from sending out things that people are going to return or give you bad reviews about. You need to figure out how to balance the amount you're spending on items with the profit that you're going to make from them. Figuring out exactly how much to pay for things, where to source them from, is not an easy task. That takes time to learn. It's not going to happen overnight. Another thing is that you might get lonely in this business. A lot of times it's you working by yourself and trying to motivate yourself to get things done every single day. There's no boss above you telling you have to do things every day. There's nobody making you get up in the morning and go into work at a certain time. There's no discipline if you don't do something throughout the day other than not seeing that reflected in your sales later and on down the road. So you have to have a very strong sense of self-motivation and discipline in order to be a full-time reseller. You have to be able to make yourself do the work every single day. And consistency is honestly one of the most important parts of reselling. Consistency in listing, consistency in promoting, consistency in making yourself visible online. All these things are important. Now, I am very lucky because I don't have very many things preventing me or holding me back from doing what I need to do during the day. I don't have any medical issues. I don't have any kids. I can just focus on it every single day, and I know not everybody can do that. So make sure if you're thinking about going full-time that you take a hard look at your situation and you figure out if it's actually going to work for you in the context of all the different things that might be impacting your life. I'm definitely not saying I'm perfect. I definitely have days where I can't do as much as I need to do or think I should do throughout the day, and I just watch YouTube and zone out and goof off and don't do the things I need to do throughout the day, and I pay for it later. But that's just part of life, I guess. The best part about reselling full-time is being your own boss, setting your own hours, having freedom to do what you want with your time and your money, and not having that structured 9-to-5 hold you back from anything that you want to do. I love watching my business grow. I love looking at the numbers every single month and seeing my progress. I love the process of thrifting and getting items up for sale and shipping them off. Some parts I like a little bit more than others, but I really enjoy the work a lot more than maybe some things that I've done in the past. And now I'm really excited about making YouTube videos and helping you all along your reselling journeys as well. I hope that you found this video interesting and feel like you know a little bit more about me. Let me know where you are on your journey in the comments down below. Introduce yourself. I love to meet everybody. I love to make some new friends through hopefully connecting with people through YouTube and Instagram. I think that's one of the coolest things about the whole reseller community is that even though we're not in the same physical location, it's possible to form connections and friendships with people all over through the internet. And yeah, I'd love to get to know you, and thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.